I have really been looking forward to this interview since reading her memoir, Reason to Sing. Kelita Haviland is no stranger to 100 Huntley Street, as she has graced our studios many times before, performing and co-hosting on this very program. She's a multi-Juno Award nominee, singer, songwriter, mentor, social advocate, and now author. But most importantly, she's my dear friend. Welcome back to Huntley Street, Kelita.
Thank you, Mark. So great to see you.
It's been a minute.
I know. It's been too long.
How are you? There's so much to tell.
I know. How am I? I'm doing well. You know, it's been a journey doing this book. Yeah. It's been the biggest project I think I've ever done. But
yeah, I have to say I was riveted by your story, you know, as I read things that I did not know about you. Honestly, and for movie directors out there right now, it reads like a script for a film. It's like a new version of A Star is Born. Incredible and riveting. And I've known you for a long time, and there were things that I learned about you, Kelita, that just absolutely shocked me to the core. You unpack some pretty painful experiences, and your writing style is raw and it's real. Did putting pen to paper help you on this continuum of healing? Because, I mean, I got to tell our viewers, when you get your hands on the book, Reason to Sing, you know, the very first paragraph of the book is you being a victim of incest at the hand of your older half-brother, Jimmy. You know, was there healing, further healing that came as a result of that?
Definitely. I think Mark, what I realized more than anything is that I still had healing to do. I think we can get to a certain stage in our life and we think, you know, I'm doing okay. You know, I've worked through things. And by really bringing the story to life, I had to try to experience those same feelings and emotions and the truth of those things. And so it was hard, but it was like I was going to a whole new level. And I think God was allowing me to go even deeper into those places and to continue healing that little girl and that child. Yeah.
So it was a divine appointment for you writing this book. I mean, God wanted to take you even deep in your healing process.
I think that I couldn't have perhaps released it earlier than I've chosen to do now. I mean, I've literally been working on it for 20 years, you know, in bits and pieces, but then something else would happen in my family, another tragedy, and I'd be like, oh, I just can't tell anymore. I don't know. I think I'm done telling the story. So I think God knew that I had to do some more healing. And then during COVID, as it were, I had a friend who she contacted me and she said, when are you going to finish your book? And I was like, oh, right.
Oh, right, that.
Oh, that. Yeah.
In the chapter where you describe moving back to the ranch after your dad had passed, he had taken his own life, you wrote the words, but really, we're all just hiding. What a loaded statement. I mean, that's as short as the phrase that I pulled from the book because it was just so power-packed. Was that young Kelita's default position, just to hide?
Oh, yeah. I mean, what do you do as an 11-year-old when your father commits suicide in a small farming community? You don't have the skills, you don't have the wisdom, you're not equipped. And back then, there was no talk of therapists or counseling or even adults coming to your side. So you pretty much just had to figure it out on your own. And so the best and the easiest thing, the means of survival, was just to hide and mask. And so, you know, for years after that, I told people that my dad died of a heart attack. You know, there's so much shame that comes with that kind of trauma. And so you hide. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to jump back and forth in your story, but do you think that mask that you learned to wear so early on played into your ability to be an amazing entertainer later on in life?
Yeah. Yeah, because I wanted people to look at the performer. I wanted people to laugh at the funny lady instead of focusing on my family's story and dysfunction.
Right.
So I think that, and it was an escape for me, and it was fun. But I also think that God, He birthed in me the desire to make people smile and laugh and make them feel good. That was just a gift.
And that you have done many times. I have experienced personally where I've even had you slip into one of your characters just so I could have a good laugh. You describe your decision to follow Jesus in a very beautiful way. It's probably one of the most compelling parts of your story. I felt like I was there in the service with you. What changed for you in that moment, Kelita, as a young girl?
Yeah, I was 14. My dad had passed. My mother was ill with cancer. And there was a pastor that had invited her to church because he was counseling my mom. So my sister and I started going to this little church, and I belonged to the youth group, and we went out one, I think it was a Saturday night in Calgary, to this church where it was filled with youth. I was up in the balcony. And I mean, I was just heartbroken. I was grieving. I was scared. And that youth pastor that was giving a call, his words were like he was speaking right to me. And I just felt the power. The Holy Spirit just came upon me. And I was literally moved by the Spirit to go down to the front and give my life to Jesus, to surrender all of the pain, all of the sorrow, all of the brokenness. I didn't feel like I had a choice. This was hope. This was something that was intangible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One would hope that after that decision to follow Jesus, life became easier for Kelita Haverland, but that's simply not the case. You know, you continue to experience trauma and pain and betrayal as you grew up, you became a young woman, you started pursuing entertainment.
Yeah.
You know, you decided to go off for a number of years and kind of do life your own way. I'm kind of cutting out bits and pieces of the story so that we can get the full gist of what has brought you here today. I have to say, there was one particular section of the book where you've kind of come to the end of yourself. You know, you're looking for love in an abusive marriage. You know, there'd been some extramarital relationships. You know, you'd had some career success, but you had some frustrations. I know what that's like as a musician.
Yeah.
You know, the loss of your precious mom to cancer. You write this. You said, "I've always hidden, existed in the shadows, tiptoed around the truth. At an early age, I learned how to suppress and protect, and I was very good at it. It was my survival. I guess it's what made me the strong one." We started the show with that. "But now I am tired of pretending, lying, cheating, and living a double life. No more. This is it. I'm totally done with being the keeper of all the dark secrets. I don't want to be the strong one anymore."
No.
What brought you to that point?
Well, you mentioned all those things. Finding that I just couldn't pretend anymore. I couldn't hide anymore. I was physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually exhausted at the end of myself. And I knew that I couldn't continue. You know, I was going to be ill. I was going to, who knows what I might have chosen to do with my life. But I knew that there was no turning back once I finally surrendered and admitted that I just couldn't hide anymore. It was time. It was time to come to terms with everything that I'd gone through in my life and turn things back over.
And even in those difficult seasons and those times in your life where maybe God wasn't front and center in terms of your decision making and some of the choices you were
certainly.
making, right?
Yeah.
There was still this common thread, and I love how you wove it into the book, into every chapter, into every experience, but still He was there. Still God was protecting me. Still I could sense Him there. And you had this relationship, this dependence on Him that was really paramount to your existence. It's brought you here to this day. How would you say your relationship or your perception of God evolve or mature throughout those years? to bring you to a place where you could actually stand on your own 2 feet and live a life that was, what you felt was honoring to him.
Well, he has given me so much grace. He's given me grace, and he's allowed me to forgive the people in my life that harmed me, took advantage of me, left me too early. But he's also allowed me to forgive myself. And I think, Mark, that is so huge, to be able to learn to accept and love yourself and all your flaws, all of the wounds, all of the messiness. And I don't know if you call it supernatural, but I always tended to run after him instead of away from him when things were happening. And I'm so grateful that I was that one that continued to look to him and to lean into him. Because I know we can get angry, we can get disillusioned with God. And I think we've all been there. But I'm just grateful that, his grace is sufficient for me. For his power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses so that Christ's power may rest in me.
What do you hope people will take away from your memoir, Kelita?
I hope people will take away that they are not alone.
Yeah.
And that no matter what they've been through or how they've let themselves down or God or others in their life, that there is always a way up. We can always rise from the ashes, and we are miracles. I'm a miracle. Gord and I, our marriage is a miracle. Gord's a miracle. That God is in the business of working with people where they are and loving them and bringing them to a place of freedom and truth. And I just hope that people will find that. Be courageous, be brave, to work on yourself, to find that story within yourself and not be afraid to hold it back, because you just never know what God can do with that.
Forgiveness. Forgiving others, forgiving ourselves, not being held in bondage to unforgiveness.
Yeah.
Such a powerful lesson for all of us to learn, Kelita, whether or not we've faced the challenges you've faced. I know we've just scratched the surface of the book. There's so many, twists and turns, and there's a beautiful epilogue you write at the end. You kind of give updates on all the people, kind of the main characters in your story.
Yeah.
And I thought that was especially beautiful that you were able to acknowledge each one of those people in that way. As much hurt as perhaps they had caused you in your own life, you were still able to respectfully honor those people in such a way. I've always been your biggest fan. And it's so great to have you back here. Your heart for people, your testimony. Thank you for sharing so candidly with the world.
Thank you.
About your journey and being such an amazing example of grace. The book for our viewers is Reason to Sing. And I just love the fact that you're starting to write songs again.
Yeah.
You've got a new reason to sing after a bit of a hiatus from writing, which is wonderful. So get ready, world, for some new music coming your way. Kelita, thanks for being with us, and God bless you.
Thank you, Mark.